Well, hello, or should I say, ciao, Bella? That means hello, beautiful in Italian. I wanted to specifically jump on here and get reconnected and just tell you about all the exciting things that are going on. To support you, especially coming off of such an amazing trip. So here I am. I'm so excited to be here for my first live since getting back from Italy. I got back yesterday from an incredible journey. The scenery was beautiful, the food was amazing, and the adventure was so fulfilling. The entire experience was just. It just was mesmerizing. It was amazing. And it is something that has really created a lifetime of treasures for me. And I don't know if you had a chance to read one of the posts or all of the posts that I kind of put out there from the experience. But I do want you to know that going there and being able to spend time to truly immerse myself in an Italian experience really exceeded my expectations. And I loved sharing it with you. I loved being able to allow you to have exposure, in many cases, to of someone who looks like you, someone you actually know, who had a chance to visit a place that's far off that we've read about and see some of the things that we hear about up close and personally. And so I will tell you that it was truly an authentic experience for me. I will treasure it for the rest of my life. But even with all of the beautiful things I saw and the beautiful things that I experienced, there were two things that stood out to me the most. And I contemplated these two things on my ride back. They probably were two things that I echoed the most often in some of the posting and blogging, if you will, that I did of my experience. And it really wasn't the magical beauty of Italy that stood out, though, like I said, it was an amazing time. But I think the thing that really stood out for me is I got to live the very business model I intentionally designed for myself. In some of the posts, I talked about how I set my intention years ago to be able to work from anywhere. I wanted to be able to take my work with me and not be pinned to one location, and that I could go and have an opportunity to be a part of communities around the world, while at the same time being able to run my business. And I was able to do that. And so I think that was the very first thing that stood out to me is I had an opportunity to realize a dream, to live a dream with great intention, because that is truly what I designed for myself. And I think the second thing that stood out for me is that I truly have a business that fits into the life I want. And many of us, especially when we have long-standing corporate experience, we know what it's like to have our life fit into our work. We work a lot, we put in a lot of time, we devote a lot of our attention to getting the success and driving the results. And so we know what it is to check out of work to try to have life. But the experience that I have been able to curate for myself is that I have a business that fits into the life that I want. And so instead of me squeezing my life into my work, I get to squeeze my work into my life. And so I think those were the two things that really stood out for me as I had a chance to do some reflecting. But here's the one thing I do want you to know, that didn't just happen. I didn't just stumble into being able to live and experience the things the way that I did. And so I wanted to go live today to share three things that kind of set me up to build a business that fits me perfectly so that you can begin to reflect on how you can do the same thing. When I am working with my clients, I really want to understand the life that they want, the impact they want to make, the income that can justify or satisfy, even maintain or elevate their lifestyle. And so that is incredibly important, is to make sure that when we're setting up up a business model, that we're doing it in such a way that it fits you perfectly. And your perfect may not look like my perfect. My perfect was I wanted to work from anywhere. Your perfect may be something different, but it has to be developed in a way that it fits you. And so there were essentially a few things I had to do early on in this process and intentionally throughout the process to make that happen for myself. So early on in the process, I had to reckon with the misalignment that I felt. And that's what I really wanted to talk about today, because sometimes there is this misalignment that is happening, but nobody's talking about it. And many of us, especially when you have achieved success in your career, you have attained the lifestyle you desired, you can drive the results kind of with ease. It doesn't really demand a lot from you. When you start to do that and you start to evolve in such a way, there's this disconnect, there's this crossroads or this misalignment that starts to fire. And for me, I had to reckon with that. And it really started to come to light mostly for me in 2021, although there were glimpses of it before. Mostly in 2021 is when I truly had to reckon with that misalignment that I started to feel. There comes a point where the success that once satisfied me started to feel heavy. And that's when it's not because it's demanding more. It's not because you don't know what to do. It starts to feel heavy because you are shrinking to stay in it. And I want to be real clear about that. It's not that you feel like you're an imposter. It's not that you feel like you can't do. It's not that you feel like you can't accomplish. You got there. You are successful for all of the right reasons. But what you're finding is to maintain or sustain the success that you have achieved, it requires a part of you to shrink to stay in it. And it's because you have had this evolution that has exceeded the criteria of where you are. You can still drive the results, but there is a misalignment that is starting to happen within you. And when it happened for me, I had to get honest about it. I had to be honest and use that honesty to be my turning point. And at that crossroads, I had to ask myself, will I be courageous enough to be curious about what I sense is going on within me, or will I stay put because of all these external factors, factors of what it takes to maintain my lifestyle, factors of what it takes to support my family, factors of what I had to sacrifice to get there, factors of external expectations that people may have, factors of I made it and so many people are looking up to me. The factors go on and on and on. But what happens is that the success is no longer in front of you. You are shrinking to stay in it. And we have to really talk about this because there are people who have achieved success. And this is one of the reasons why I don't subscribe to, I want to escape. No, it's not about an escape. It's about an expansion. I don't subscribe to get rid of the grind. It's not about getting rid of the grind because you know how to do what you do with grace and ease. You're good at what you do, but it really is about you evolving. It's about you expanding. And that evolution of you is having to shrink to stay where you are. And that's where the misalignment comes. So when it started to happen for me, I had to get honest with myself about what I was feeling inside. I was feeling disconnected. I was feeling disappointed. I was no longer just really driven by the work. I was just finding myself going through the motions of showing up every day, still driving results, still getting the outcomes, but not in it. Like I was not in it in the way that I had been before. And so I had to make a choice at that point. I had to choose to be curious about what was happening within me. And what I find is that many of us will gloss over it. We will mislabel it as burnout. We will mislabel it as I need to pursue more. I need to go after greater. We will mislabel it instead of becoming really healthy and curious about what's happening within you. And so I had to get to the point where I had to not shut down the nudge, not shut down what I was feeling, but I had to allow myself to explore it. I had to explore what was happening within me. And one of the things I had to really reckon with, especially as someone who is smart, who is intelligent, who had achieved, who was used to being the go-to person, used to having all the answers, I had to get to the point where I had to be honest and say, I didn't have the answers. But I had to be willing to ask myself the right questions and sit in the truth of what those answers were. And that curiosity opened the doors that I couldn't see before. That curiosity allowed me to lean into prioritizing myself in a way that I didn't anticipate. It really took me on a journey of becoming to truly go after what I wanted, which was to work from anywhere. And so the best decision I made in that process, after I had to reckon with the misalignment, after I had to get curious about what was happening within me as I got support for the journey, I didn't rely on figuring things out on my own, even though I'm really good at doing that. Much of my career success has come from me figuring things out on my own. And I made an intentional decision, which is probably one of the best decisions that has helped to accelerate my success, is that I invested in coaching. And that allowed me to be guided through the shift. And that probably is the best statement that I could say when it comes to coaching, the type of coaching that is really beckoning you to evolve and become it, whoever you're being driven to from within, is that you have to allow yourself to be guided through it. And that can be hard for high achieving women who are successful, who are used to being the go-to person, who are used to having high remarks because they know how to judge success. But I will tell you, getting the support to get guided through that is probably one of the hands down best decisions that I made. And I will tell you, my trip to Italy and all the other trips I have planned for this year are proof that coaching works, and the right support makes all of the difference. So I wanted to show up today because I believe that there are women, high achieving corporate professional women who have reached a pinnacle success in your career. And this type of clarity, the type of confidence, the type of alignment that I put before you is the same thing I think you deserve as well. I believe you deserve the same thing. And if you are feeling the nudge, that misaligning nudge within you that says you are truly shrinking to stay where you are limiting your growth, you are limiting your expansion, you are limiting your evolution. If you feel that nudge, I want you to know one thing. It is not random. It is not random that you are feeling that. And I want you to accept one thought from this entire conversation, and that is your next chapter is calling you forward. And here's the most beautiful thing that I will start with and I will end with. You are not starting over. You are building on what you've already accomplished, what you've already achieved, and you just need help being guided through the shift. So I want you to know everything I've exampled for you, everything that you've seen me accomplish, where I have curated a business model that fits into my life and I can live out the experiences that are meaningful for me. You deserve the same. You deserve that clarity. You deserve that confidence. You deserve the alignment with who you are now. So I want to unpack a few thoughts because this is very easy to listen to, but it's harder to step into. And if what I'm sharing resonates with you, I want to invite you to join me next week. But I do have more I want to build on here. But I have an experience that is called the CEO Shift. It's a challenge that I'm doing. And that's where we'll start building out what it is that we're going to really help you figure out your next steps. So today, I want to talk a little bit more, especially if you sense that you've done everything right, but you still don't feel aligned. You still feel like I did when I felt misaligned. And I want to talk about it because we gloss over it instead of having the right curiosity with it. The first thing I want to say behind that sentiment is this is not an indication of failure. We make things so black and white. that if we aren't in the drive, if we aren't in the push, if we're not going for the next thing, if we're not going after the next achievement, if we're not pushing for the next goal, we've been groomed to do that, especially when we are successful at what we do. This is not failure. This is just growth in a different way. It is you truly evolving, and that is a good thing. It deserves your attention, it deserves your confidence, and it deserves your clarity. From my time in corporate, this is one of the things that I know from the experience is that the success in the corporate walls often groom us to achieve in a very specific and programmed way. And that's not a bad thing, especially if you're new and you're trying to figure out how to navigate success. For me, I came out of a situation where I was a first generation leader, where the life I was living was different than the one that I was raised in. My experiences were more expansive than what I had seen. And so those guardrails that corporate offered were good for me. I will never bash corporate America because corporate America was good to me. I had a very successful career. I got to experience some amazing things. I had a compensation package that was really strong. I had a chance to travel to some amazing places, and it all came as a result of me learning the guardrails within the corporate arena. And so that programming, if I could call it that, it was not a bad thing. It taught me to be successful. It taught me to evolve and grow. It taught me to develop as a leader. Now, there were things I added to it to become good at those things, but I won't shun corporate because I stand on the shoulders of my corporate success. And when you're young and you're being groomed that way, it guides you to the money. It guides you to the recognition. It guides you to the access. It guides you to the reward. We learn to deliver. We learn to lead. We learn to achieve. And that is okay. What's happening for you now is there's a shift happening within where you're just extending beyond what you have been taught before. And we are all intended to evolve and grow. And it works well. Those guardrails work well. You can go up that corporate ladder. You can make the bag. You can make the money. You can get the titles. You can find yourself in the big offices, at the big meetings, all of the things. And it works well until there is a season shift. And as we get older, as we develop, as we become more stable and we don't have all of the demands on us in a way that says we have to stay because of all of these other reasons, we are positioned in a very powerful way, and that is to make a choice about evolving, a choice about leaning into how we can make a difference and be more impactful and still make money. And we begin to realize who we really are. We begin to trust our abilities, and we know our magic and our power. We begin to understand our capabilities. We begin to understand our strengths, and we formulate our own interests and values because we have evolved. We begin to sense this misalignment that I am talking about. It's happening within you where you are and what you're experiencing on a day-to-day basis is not failing. In fact, it's going okay. It's going okay. You're valuable to the organization. You're valuable to the success. You're valuable to the accomplishment, but you are starting to sense that you're disconnected because you're shrinking to fit in it. It no longer feels the same. We start to see who we are now, and who we have become. And that is okay. Evolution is completely okay. So many of us, we learn to shape ourselves to fit in these rooms that we didn't get a chance to design. We didn't get a chance to design that room. We jumped into it. We learned the rules that were at play. We adapted ourselves to ensure we were generating our actions according to it was expected and what was rewarded and what was safe. We became the dependable ones. We became the fixers. We became the high performers, the ones who made it all work, the ones that were the go-to people, and that all of that helped us to succeed. But now we're disconnected because that's no longer who we are. And that doesn't mean that it's bad. Your career is good. Everything you've accomplished is great. It's just that you are disconnected from who you are now. And so this is what I love to call a crossroads. I love to refer to this as being at a crossroads, because at a crossroads, this is where you have to make a choice in the direction you're going to go. You have paths in front of you, and some of them may not be as clear as the path you're comfortable with, the one that you have been working at for so long, the one that you know all the rules on how to play and experience every day in your career. You get challenged with this whole notion of satisfaction. You get challenged with this whole notion of fulfillment. And you find yourself at this crossroads where if you take one path, there's a deficiency in satisfaction. There's a deficiency in fulfillment. And that makes you feel like you're shrinking. It makes you feel like something is missing. It makes you feel like, or say things to yourself like, there has to be more to this, that you're desiring something that isn't a part of what it is that you used to do. And again, it's not an indication of failure, nor is it an indication of burnout. It's an indication that things are misaligned. So one of the questions I want you to ask yourself is, how is your current role rewarding you, but it no longer is reflective of who you are now? That's a very powerful question. How is your current role rewarding you, but it's no longer reflective of who you are now? Now, this is hard. This is hard because our title, it might be impressive. You might have worked hard to become a manager, director, vice president, SVP, EVP, or even a C-suite person. You did everything to get there because that was the play. That was the play. Your compensation might still look strong, but inside you feel the difference. See, I remember when I was really fulfilled by my work, everything, every day showing up, I got my tank filled by what I was accomplishing within work. But the disconnect came when I was showing up, doing the same things, but my tank wasn't getting fulfilled in the way that it used to, because those things did not fit who I was now. So it's not about failing at your role. It's not about your success falling apart. It's just that you've outgrown the version of you who used to fit there. You've outgrown that version. And that is why at the very beginning, the one thing I said is that you have to be open to expansion and evolution. This is not about escaping. It's about a very intentional choice to align yourself with what you feel within. And so as you are considering things, could it be that you're holding on to roles and habits, or even identities that no longer reflect who you have become? And this is when I told you very upfront in my own journey that I had to get honest with myself, because these questions are hard. They're very hard questions, especially for those of us who come from a trauma background and we get to define ourselves by that bougie title. We get to define ourselves by this bougie lifestyle, and we get to define ourselves by everything it affords for us, right? Everything that income affords for us, we get to define ourselves by. And so when you start talking about this isn't who I am anymore, it makes me question It makes me question my value. It makes me question what I bring to the table. It makes me question who I am. But could it be that you're holding on to who you used to be? Could it be that you're holding on to roles and habits and identities that really truly no longer reflect who you have become? So I want to give you these 4 signs that could indicate misalignment of high achieving women. And they're the exact 4 signs that I find we try to ignore. They're the nudges that are happening within us, and we try to ignore these signs that are usually indications of misalignment. The first one is you're doing well, but it feels heavy or it feels hollow. Let me say that again. You're doing well, but it feels heavy or it feels hollow. Now, those are 2 different perspectives. Heavy means it feels overwhelming. It feels like a weight. Hollow means it has no substance. And so when you start looking at I'm doing well, what does it really feel like? Have you mastered the role? You know how to deliver results. You know how to meet expectations and exceed by every external measurement. But inside, it no longer lights you up. The work no longer stretches you. The work no longer fuels you. In fact, it drains you because you're no longer growing from it. Chances are, in this particular case, you're sustaining and not soaring. So, the one thing I want to ask you is, have you noticed this in your journey? Have you noticed that you're doing the things, right? You're doing well. You're still getting praises. You're still accomplishing the responsibilities, but it feels heavy, like a log, or it feels hollow, like nothing's there. That's one thing that could be an indication of misalignment. The second thing that could be an indication of misalignment is that you keep searching for the next project or promotion, but even in the search, it really doesn't excite you. You're kind of going through the motion. So you know something needs to change. That prompted the search. You're like, I can't stay here anymore. Something has to change about this. So what can I do now? What project is out there? What promotion should I pursue? But even the thought of the project and promotion really at the heart, it doesn't excite you. That could be an indication of misalignment. You're trying to rekindle the spark through achievement. We become achievement junkies. We become check the box, get the score, get the win. So you're trying to rekindle that spark within you through achievement. Let me just go get this new project. Let me just go get this new promotion. You're hoping that a new challenge or a new title or a new responsibility will reignite your passion. You're hoping for that. But deep down, you know that it's not about the next corporate step. It's about needing a new path that truly aligns with your purpose. And so maybe your misalignment is you can notice yourself searching for a project. You keep asking what other teams are doing. You keep looking to see what jobs are posted. You keep asking about other opportunities because you know the thrill is gone where you are. And even in your quest, you're not really excited. That may be an indication of misalignment. The third thing that may be an indication of misalignment is you find yourself dreaming about something else, but you tell yourself over and over again, it's not the right time. Let me say that again. You find yourself dreaming about something else, but you tell yourself over and over again, it's not the right time. You blame it on timing. You push it off. You sense that there's a vision in you. You can see it clearly. You've got journals full of business ideas, of different way of working, a desire for more freedom, a desire to make more impact. You can tangibly feel it, but fear or logic or even loyalty keeps you pushing it to the sidelines. You convince yourself to wait, even though the longing keeps returning. You convince yourself to wait, even though that nudge keeps showing up. So maybe your misalignment is that you keep dreaming of something else and you shut it down quickly and you blame it on timing. You have the ideas, you know the shift, but you keep saying it's not the right time. And then finally, the last example I have for our time today is that your energy goes into maintaining and not creating. Let me say that again. The misalignment is because you go into maintaining and not creating. Your days are filled with keeping things on track. No stretch, no innovation, but keeping things status quo. And that really has never been about you. You have always been about the next move, but you find yourself just keeping it steady Eddie, maintaining the team, maintaining the results, maintaining the expectations, but you really feel energized and you know the difference because throughout your career, you've had energizing moments, but you rarely feel that now. You rarely feel energized. You rarely feel inspired because you're not building, you're not birthing, you're not creating, you're not innovating, you're in preservation mode, not expansion mode, and it feels stifling. Many of people will say stuck, but it's really stifling that you feel. You feel caged in, like in a box, like you can't express your way out. Maybe your misalignment is that you find yourself going into maintenance mode and not into innovation. So if any of these misaligning practices, misaligning perspectives, crossroads, if I may, if any of these resonate with you, I want you to know that it is not a sign of failure. It's a sign that you are evolving. It is not a sign of burnout. It is a sign that you are evolving. The next chapter isn't about fixing what's wrong. It's about building what's right. And I know that all of it sounds risky to your success, perhaps even scary. Because when you have achieved and accomplished as much as you have, all of those things challenge your comfort, challenge what you're used to, challenge the security that has made you feel safe. I want to challenge you with this. You owe it to yourself, not to anybody else. You owe it to yourself to explore what you sense now. You owe you. Curiosity is the first sign of alignment seeking you out. Let me say that again. Curiosity is the very first sign of alignment seeking you. It has awakened something within you that feels like a pull. You start wondering, you start imagining, you may have these thoughts of what if. Again, it's not random. I said that at the very beginning. It is not random. And you discounting it as such is keeping you stifled. It's keeping you caged in, and it's keeping you shrinking into the success that you know and holding back the success that's possible. It's your purpose trying to surface. That curiosity is your purpose trying to surface through all of the noise of what is familiar to you. Exploring that is not reckless. It is wise. I am a firm believer that God is always trying to do something through, to, and for us. And so, if something has awakened within you, it is not a reckless move to explore it. It is wise to explore it because there is something that He is either trying to get to you, do through you, or for you. It's how you will ensure your next move reflects who you truly are now and not who you had to be to succeed in corporate. So I want you to recognize that curiosity is a healthy thing, and it is your first sign that alignment is seeking you. The other thing I want you to know is you don't have to act yet, but you owe it to yourself to get clarity. You don't have to go quit. You don't have to shift anything, but you do owe it to yourself to get clear. Too often, powerful women shut down curiosity because they think exploring means committing. Exploring does not mean committing. It does not mean committing. Exploring means gathering truth so that you can make confident and intentional decisions. And the cost of staying in the swirl is far greater than the cost of simply looking at what's next. So I want you to know you don't have to act yet, but you do owe it to yourself to get the clarity. And finally, the business that fits you won't reveal itself if you don't look. Let me say that again. The business that fits you will not reveal itself if you don't look. Building what's right for you starts with understanding what you want now. And that's exactly what I had to do. I had to get very curious and ask myself some really hard questions and be honest with myself and prioritize myself to get to where I am now. What you want now could not be the same as what you wanted then. And so your curiosity is a doorway to designing a business that aligns with your purpose, your values, and the vision that you have for your life. And so I wanted to talk today about the misalignment that no one is talking about because we gloss over it because it's a hard thing to reckon with. I want to really encourage you to explore your next chapter. And I want to say to you that it is not selfish to do so. It's actually smart. And your future self will thank you for having the courage to be curious. If this resonates with you, I want to invite you to join me next week. I am hosting a 3-day event to talk about the CEO shift, and it's a space where we will begin building what actually fits the woman you have become. It isn't about quitting, it's about becoming, and I would love to see you in the room. So let me real quickly figure out how to get the website link on screen here. If you go to www.jointhechallenge.live, you can get more information about everything that I have been talking about. And I just want to leave you with this thought. It really isn't about starting over. It's about starting from experience. And right now, the shift that you feel is necessary for you begins with you being curious about it, with you stepping into getting the clarity that you need. Now, this experience that I'm hosting on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, it's a 3-day experience. It is absolutely free. And when I host these on a regular basis, people always say how valuable it is. They always wonder, how can I host it for free? And really, it's because I believe that clarity should never be behind a paywall. Every high achieving woman deserves the chance to explore what's next without a barrier. And that's the reason why I show up and I make these experiences free. Your clarity doesn't need to be behind a paywall. There is the opportunity to be curious and get answers that will help you with your next step decision without having to pay. I'm showing up because I know how valuable it is once you do get clear. You get to experience life in a way you never imagined. I also do it because I believe in equipping. not gatekeeping. And this is about activating what's possible for you and not holding it hostage. And so, one of the reasons why I make these experiences free, even though they are tremendously valuable, and yes, I could charge for them, I do it because I believe in equipping and not gatekeeping. And the last thing is because when you show up for yourself, you'll see it as more than just another webinar. When you show up, you'll see it as a high touch transformational space that's designed to help you stop swirling and start aligning. And I don't want you to miss that opportunity. I guess because I've been there. As I said, back in 2021, when I started to have this disconnect happen in my own life, I was in that space, and getting clarity was the absolute thing that made a difference, that a whole year later, I was able to step into being a full-time entrepreneur. And so I want you to recognize that value isn't in the price tag. Value is in the shift that you'll make when you finally give yourself permission to build what actually fits you. And so if you're asking yourself, well, how could she give this away for free? Or if it's valuable, it is absolutely valuable. To get in a space with me is always valuable because I have so much wisdom, so much experience, and I bring so much value to the table. And so I've curated this 3-day experience because I want to go beyond the surface conversation. I want you to really spend some time reckoning with how you want to lead in your next chapter. I believe that oftentimes those shifts don't happen in a single session. I like to build upon what I share, and that unfolds through reflection and connection and helping you decide. And so that's one of the reasons why I host these experiences for free. And so this is my personal invitation to you to join the challenge, to become curious about the misalignment that you sense. I have had over 70 people register for this event so far. I'm really excited about it. I always encourage people to show up live, but I also know a lot of people show up and watch the replays. And so I always make those available, but you can only get the replay when you register. So I do want to encourage you to do that. I offer replays just for a limited time. So just because it's free doesn't mean that it's not the right first step. Anytime you come in connection with someone who has been where you are and can talk you through it, guide you through it, that is the best connection to help you move forward. And so hopefully today was enlightening for me to just kind of be honest about where you are when you sense that misalignment. I again appreciate all of the support that was given to me while I was traveling. Appreciate everyone reaching out to say how they loved all of the recaps and how it was so encouraging to you. But I do just want to encourage you to think about how you can begin to shift your life so that work fits into your life instead of the other way around. This experience will force you to reckon with the misalignment that you sense, to get curious about it, and to see if getting support in your next steps makes the most sense. So registration is open now. It's absolutely free. And if you have already registered, let me say this, you would have received a confirmation email from me, and you would have received a calendar invite from me. So I can secure that time on your calendar, help you prioritize being there in the space real time. There is nothing like being in spaces real time to take things in. All right. So thank you for doing lunch with me today. Thank you for welcoming me back to the USA after my incredible Italian experience and excursion. And I will look forward to seeing you next week at the challenge. It starts on Monday. It's absolutely free. All you need to do is go to www.jointhechallenge.live. All of the information is there for you to be able to get you in the room and really deal with what you sense within yourself now. Have an incredible day, and I'll see you next time.